All right, here we go. Next week, the week before Thanksgiving. Yes. All right, this is a new document under grade 3, unit 3. And this week you are finishing up introducing division and some multiplication, division, fact families. So then the week before Thanksgiving, we're going to start for the rest of the year fluency for multiplication, division. And I'm starting you off with practicing multiplying and dividing by 2. And I am just going to follow the path of the fluency program that I'm using and piloting in my groups. And I can show you quick. It'll follow this path of we're going to 1 week, next week, work through the 2s, then we'll do the 10s, and then the 5s, and then squares and near squares, and then back to the 2s, and then the 4s, and then the 10s, and then the 2s, back to the 2s again, and then the 3s, and then the 5s, and then the 6s, and then the 10s. So you cycle through, and we'll just follow this cycle to the end of the year. And he's done the research on that looping back to certain facts, and if they aren't able to get it that first round, then we wait and we come back to it again a couple weeks later. So anyway, that's where I'm going with that. So I have his game in here. Again, it is 4 in a row, but we have working our 2's facts. So this one calls for, up here, 2 10-sided dice. If you want to make it easier for a set of kids, just use 1 dice. But it's nice because it'll make them do more multiplication. So again, they just roll, they pick which dice they're going to use, and then cover up that product. All right, working on doubles. And then if I go back to that document, I have some practice pages that come from your number corner, I think in the month of December, that are 2s if you're looking for that. Also, here's some more open type practice you could start using throughout the year. And you could use this with any fact, but since the week is about 2s, you'd put what's your multiplier and you'd write 2, and then you'd go ahead and work through every one of these problems, but you're multiplying each one by 2. And then on the bottom, they'd work on some division facts. The thing is, I would not pass this out like this. I'd actually go ahead and write in the division facts for them to solve. So I might write in 10 divided by 2, and these are all going to be divided by 2 because that was our multiplier. And then I'm just going to write these in to make it quicker. So then they get to practice. Yeah, otherwise they'd have to write them in, and that would take forever. So there's some ideas on practicing for multiplying and dividing by 2. Come Monday, you'd start it off with a give and take problem string. So the kids would be in their math journals, and they would show how they're solving these specific problems that you're going to show in this Google slide deck that I put together. So if they want, they can label it called give and take, but they might not know what that means till we actually start the problem string, right? So I'd give out this problem, 36 plus 99, and they work it to the best of their ability. Maybe they want to use the number line, maybe they don't. And then we come back together, and you can look around and see some ideas kids have. And if no one came up with this, the thought is here to share the idea that 99 is really close to 100. So if we just jump 1 right here, if we just add 1, we'll be at 100. But we wanted to add 36. So if I already added 1 to get to 100, how many more do I need to go? I need to go 35 more. And I know 135 is 135. So you can get that really quickly instead of having to every time maybe a kid is using the algorithm there. Okay? All right. So then they get that idea. Then we go to this one. Well, what about 97 plus 78? Now you just introduce that idea of give and take, given something to make it easier. But, maybe they still don't go to it. Then they solve whatever, and then we come back together, and then we share out the idea of, 97 is pretty close. It's not just 1, but it's 3 from 100. But we wanted to add on 78. So if I added 3 to 100, how many more do I have left to add on? So I subtract off that 3, and I still have 75 to add on. And now I know quickly that's 175. And then you get some bigger ones to try out. And so then what I did here, and Bridges recommends, is to shift from the number line visual to doing it with equations. So that when you're ready, and people have tried this problem, then we erase this, we move it over, or you just erase, and then I have an equation set up. So then they'd go ahead and follow you in their notebook. What if we give 1 to 299, but then we take 1 from 647? That'll give us our same answer. So it's the idea of give and take, of making the problem easier because one of the numbers is very close to a landmark number. Okay? All right. So you're starting it off with a give and take problem string. Then we have, if you want and you like to give out pretests, there is a revamp of the pretest for you. Make it a little shorter, to the point, has a little bit of rounding, has some addition, subtraction, and then on the back page, it has a word problem on it. Okay? So up to you if you want to go there. Tuesday, now we get into rounding. So activity 1, you start a discussion with them. And here's how you could start it off. So let's say when we go to the store, guys, do we need to know exactly how much money I need to bring? Like if I'm going to get milk, do I need to bring that exact amount, or can I estimate and get about just close to what I need? Yeah. How about when I measure something and it doesn't come out at exactly an inch? What did a lot of people do? They usually just go to the nearest inch or centimeter. So today we're going to practice doing that, and we're going to replace a number with that friendlier number, a nearby landmark number it's called. So for example, let's say this morning I did about 30 push-ups. It's real close to 30. Well, I didn't do exactly 30, but the 28 that I did do is really close to 30. So I just rounded it to the nearest 10. So that's what we're going to do today. So when we work with rounding numbers, right, they're so much easier to do, and they give us a good estimate. So this is all in the pumping them up to get ready to round. So if we're going to round numbers to the nearest 10, we need to be good with those 10 numbers. So you can get the kids up and moving and following along with Jack Hartman, and he's going to count to 150 by tens a few times. Then once they've finished, the kids could take out their whiteboard and they can count by tens starting at 150 and try to make it pass. See what happens when they get to 190. What do they put next? 1,000? What are they going to do? So it's a good discussion to have with them, to say that after 190, we get another 100. And if we already have 100, we're going to be at 200. So a lot of kids need help with that. Then pass out the number line rounding templates. And this is where you need to get this copy from me, but I took a picture of what it looks like. This here, and you'd put it in a transparency sleeve, and all the kids would have one of these, and then we just start practicing rounding to the nearest 10. So I'd give out a number, like 32, they'd write it in with their whiteboard marker. They'd put in those landmark tens. That's between 30 and 40. What's that middle point? Because that's going to help us figure out how to round it. And then where is it located? About. We don't have to be super precise, as long as we know it's below or above the 5, the middle. So then we can actually say 32 rounded to the nearest 10 is 30. And you can have a few kids say that. So just practice and practice and practice. Then activity 2 is a game. It's a fun one that kids like, called Round Ball Tens. Here's a digital display you can use to be able to show it, and then a PDF for the kids to have them print and play in partners. They are going to need a spinner. So you can go ahead and read about that. As you noticed, I did note, remember to have the kids write down the number that they made, so that you can check it and be like, oh, are they rounding these right? They got the number 64 and they rounded it to 60, it looks like. That's good. They know what they're doing. Whereas they might put the 64 under the 70, and then you're like, hold on a sec, okay? All right, Wednesday, do what you can. Thursday, activity 1. Practice rounding again. Here I took some problems from a home connection sheet and just lessened the load. So I have just the visual of the number line with a few problems of rounding for number 1 and 2. And then if you flip over on the back, we're going to actually use our rounding skills to help us get a good estimate of the answer, sum. So here's one problem to try out and round each one to the nearest 10, get our estimated sum and say that that answer is going to be about, right? And then there's a story problem to use our estimation skills with, okay? Then activity 2, get out the base 10 pieces and have the kids make a number, pretty big number with the hundreds in it. I gave you an example of one, 238. And then we all talk about, while looking at what it looks like with the base 10 pieces, what is this closest to if we're rounding it to the nearest 10? After we discuss that, then we bump it and say, well, how about, what if we were rounding to the nearest 100? Using the base 10 pieces as a visual, what does it look like? We have 200 and then we only have 30. Is that 30 close to another 100? No. Halfway would be 50, so no. So let's look at what we were doing on a number line. So then you go ahead and draw this on the board. You have them help you count 100, 200, 300, 400, all the way to 1,000. And then you go back in and make those little marks for the halfway. And hopefully they can get along with the pattern. Then I pass out the template again, and we go ahead and just run through lots of different numbers to practice rounding to the nearest 100. Okay, using the number line as a visual. Friday, I have the next game, round ball again, but this time it's to the hundreds. So it's very similar to the other one, but now we get to practice with the hundreds. And then activity 2, you can take your pick. You could practice rounding on those templates that you used from the days before. You could practice on either one of these practice sheets here that I have, or you could do a read aloud that's Coyotes All Around or Circumference Battle that both deal with rounding. So up to you. And then some of you have used this in the past. I made this in previous years. This is geared towards Unit 3, and it has all sorts of stuff they could do on the Chromebook that's geared towards your number corner and Unit 3 ideas. So there you go. Good luck.